Welcome to the Clear to Send podcast, a podcast about wireless engineering, where we educate you on Wi-Fi technology, talk about design tips, troubleshooting, interviews, and the tools. Here are your hosts, Roel and Francois.
This show is happily sponsored by Metta Geek. Wi-Fi is awesome when it works, but when it doesn't, the problem is usually a mystery. Unless you have Insider Office by Metta Geek. Insider Office quickly scans your wireless environment and recommends ideal channel selection to help you make your Wi-Fi awesome and keep it that way. Check out the solutions at MediGeek.com to get started and get your Wi-Fi working the way you want it to.
Hi guys, this is Francois from Clear to Send. I'm here this week with Roel. Hi Roel.
Hey Francois, how are you?
I'm good, you?
Oh, I'm doing great. I've been tired for a while, for this whole weekend. I think I slept really early and slept in the next day, which is good. Got a lot of rest.
Yeah, that's good. I got some rest today too, so I was happy about that. I got a pretty busy week. You got
some traveling coming up.
Yeah, I'm actually leaving for France in 1 week. I'll be there for 2 weeks. That's going to be a vacation.
That is a good vacation in my book.
Yeah, yeah. I'm very, very much looking forward to it, and it's going to be my brother's wedding too. So excited about it. Yeah,
that should be fun. I haven't been there yet, but I've seen pictures and I've heard of other people's experiences, and it sounds beautiful. And hopefully, I can get out there soon.
Yeah, I hope so too. You're going to discover a wonderful country.
Yeah, it'll be life-changing, I bet.
Yeah, and right now they're welcoming Americans, right?
Yeah, so. I heard about that, but I got to be a scientist, right? A climate scientist.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe now's the time to change professions, or I can moonlight as a climate scientist.
Well, maybe you can use your Wi-Fi skills to become a climate scientist. All right. Anyway, so last week you did this awesome episode on Wi-Fi application for macOS. So today we're going to do the same thing for application and programs we can use on Windows.
Yep. Windows 10 hopefully is what people are using.
Really? I thought it was Windows CE.
Those are the clients, right?
Yeah, the clients. Scanner. Well, some Wi-Fi application exists on RF, scanners and stuff like this. Yeah. But anyway, today it's going to be Windows, 7, 10, this type of Windows. The one we use sometimes to do our work. I use primarily a Mac to do my work, but I also have a laptop with Windows because some applications only run on Windows. We're going to talk about that today. So I use it also to do my Wi-Fi work. I don't know about you, Roel.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I have both a MacBook Pro and a ThinkPad Lenovo. So I on my MacBook Pro, I also have VMware to run Windows, but a lot of times I just prefer to run any Windows only applications within Windows natively. So that way it's just, you're not doing it virtually where you can run into other problems. But it's surprising, right? Yeah. How many applications are Windows only and not really on the Mac OS side of things yet.
Yeah. I'm kind of like you. I have a boot camp with Windows, and then I use it for some applications we're going to talk about today, like Channelizer and IPA, this type of EKH as well. But sometimes I need to work with AirMagnet, and if you install AirMagnet and EKH on the same machine, you can have some driver issues. So,
oh really?
I have I call it the AirMagnet laptop. It's like a native Windows laptop that I use for a magnet, and you can have some issues. I think some people wrote blog articles about it, but so all right. So a list of we're gonna
there's a long list of applications.
We have maybe 5 or 6 applications that we're gonna talk more in details about, and then we have a list of 5 or 6 others that we wanted to mention as well that can be useful for our Wi-Fi work. So the main application we're going to outline today are going to be Metta Geek Channelizer, Metta Geek IPA, EKH Site Survey, Metta Geek Insider Office, Savius Omni Peak, and the Net SH tool. the built-in Windows Net SH tool.
Cool.
All right, so let's start with the Metta Geek Channelizer. So we've talked about Channelizer before in the show. Sorry. So if you want to even learn more about it, you can go back and listen to episode 66, 39, and 73. And this one is famous, huh?
Yeah, we talk about this one a lot. Well, just spectrum analysis in general, which we use Channelizer to do spectrum analysis. And for a lot of us, it's one of our favorite things to do is to see the spectrum since it's invisible to us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and Channelizer is basically it's a tool that allows you to do spectrum analysis, and it's a very visual tool. So you can have the different spectrum views, a waterfall, which is like the spectrum that's displaying over time, how busy the spectrum is over time. And then you have other views, like the current spectrum view. You have it also has like a built-in Wi-Fi scanner within Channelizer. So it's going to scan the different Wi-Fi networks around you, and it's going to display a nice table for you, telling you, which channel is used. Even
and
tells
which one's
you
taking up most of the spectrum. So you can actually overlay the channels onto the spectrum graph or the spectrum view. So you can see maybe channel 1 with, what networks are occupying most or using most of that spectrum. So it's a pretty neat network scanner tool and spectrum analyzer built in.
Yeah, and you can see, because you can overlap the name of the network, you can see how busy it is on the spectrum.
And it's also a great way to view, like if you overlay some of the interferers, you can see that too. Where if you pick what kind of interference you're looking for, it's kind of hard to describe over audio. But if you select like a video transmitter, for example, it'll have the characteristic or the waveform of that interfere, and then you just hover over the current spectrum view, and maybe you'll be able to determine what that interference is if you see that in the spectrum.
Yes, they have some pre-built, spectrum signatures that you can use. Like you said, use them, and with your mouth, you can just display them on the spectrogram and try to see if they match any interference you could have. They don't have everything, but they have, the most famous ones.
Yeah, the really most common interferers that you'll find in your network, and also you can attach because you need a Wi-Fi DBX to use Channelizer, so you can see the spectrum, and also you can attach what is called like a directional antenna to if you're trying to track where this interferer is, so that way you can get rid of it, mitigate it, or try to figure out what exactly is causing interference.
Yeah, so basically the Wi-Fi DBX, it's USB adapters that you connect to your laptop, and then it's going to be the input for the RF for the layer 1 for the, it's going to be listening to the RF basically, and then inputting the info into the software. And you can also use a Cisco Clean Air AP to import the RF information.
Yep.
And if you use a Cisco Clean Air AP, you're going to get a better resolution.
Yeah, and that's my favorite way to use Channelizer, and you can see the difference if you compare the Wi-Fi DBX to a Cisco AP.
Yeah, I use Cisco Clean Air AP now as well. You get much more details, and you can work with it, in a more accurate way, I would say.
And Clean Air will help you identify what the interferer is too. It'll have that within Clean Air.
The capability, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a plus. You do require another license to be able to use Clean Air.
Yeah,
I don't think it's much. Yeah.
It's worth it in my opinion to have the Clean Air option in there.
And I believe if you have some Clean Air AP deployed, you can send the RF information to your Metta Geek Channelizer if it's connected to the network.
Yep. Yeah, that's what makes it really useful. And so you can just instantly figure out what's going on using Clean Air. There's Actually, I think I wrote a blog post about how to do this. I'll have to see if I can dig that one up, but it's really easy to figure out. Okay, there's an AP that's deployed. Maybe there's interference in that area. You can use Channelizer to connect directly to that AP and see what the interference is currently on the channel that it's serving. Or you can change your AP into Spectrum Expert Connect mode, but you got to realize that when you put an AP in that mode, it's not going to service any clients.
Yeah, exactly. Well, if you're troubleshooting a Wi-Fi network that's not working, you know, you can probably do it. But if it's just one user having an issue and then you disconnect everyone else, it might not be the smartest move.
Yeah, make the smart decision.
Exactly. But it can be useful if it's a remote site and you don't have you don't have anyone over there that can help you in a situation like this. So in Channelizer, you can also record, your analysis. So you hit record, and then everything that the program scan and displays on the screen is going to be recorded. So if you want to do further analysis later on, if you want to send it to a colleague, you can save everything and then replay it later on.
Yeah,
you can even
take
select.
notes too.
Yeah, you can take notes. So let's say, okay, you want to document. I use the notes to document where I was, because they don't have a map included into the program, right?
Yeah.
So let's say you start a spectrum analysis somewhere. You say, okay, you start a note. You say, here I'm in the conference room, on the first floor, and then you do your spectrum analysis, and then you move to another room or you move to the third floor. You can just document it at this moment, and then you're gonna see it on the spectrum view. It's going to add a line, and basically it can be your demarcation point in between two locations.
Yep.
You can also use the notes if you think you're seeing an interference. You can add a note. Okay, here I think I saw something, and then go back later and review the spectrum data.
Yep, that's very similar to how I use it as well.
Yeah, I love the record capabilities, and also when you do your reporting, let's say you need to do a report for your customer, you can go back anytime. You can zoom in, and you can perform like a better analysis and get a better idea of what's going on. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you have so much going on that when you're on site, you don't see everything. Mm-hmm. And it's a good opportunity to just take the time to analyze everything that you've recorded. So yeah, I love the record capability.
Yeah, that's probably a lot. I think we covered almost everything with Metta Geek Channelizer. There might be more to it. I would say, with a WiSpy DBX adapter, you can do spectrum on 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. But if you need to record both, heavily, I would suggest getting two adapters, one to cover the 2.4 and one to cover the 5 gigahertz.
Yeah. If you use only one, it's going to hop in between both bands.
Yeah, you'll get more accurate recordings that way if you use two.
And also they have a pretty, thorough reporting capabilities within the program. I don't know if you use them.
It's been a while since I've used reporting, so I might have to go back and check it out again, see what improvements they've made.
It's cool.
Years since I used it.
Yeah, you can create your blocks and then move them around. So let's say you want to display, the activity on the 2.4, the spectrum view, and then the list of the Wi-Fi networks around. You can put that in the report, and you can do the same thing with 5 gigahertz, and then you can drag and drop the blocks wherever you want. Okay. You can add like an introduction block that you can modify. You can add a personalized text block. So it's a very interactive way to create your reports, and you can save a template. If you're always doing the same report, you can save the layout and then just update the information according to what you have.
Oh, there you go.
With your recording. So yeah, I like the reporting capabilities of the software as well.
Yeah, I'll try it out again and see what's changed. And once you mentioned template, I'm all about templates.
Yeah, it can save some time. So that's not everything about Channelizer, but if you go back and listen to the other episodes, you can probably, get more information on it. We'll also include the link to the website in the show notes.
Mm-hmm.
And regarding the price, it's around $850. And I think it comes with a Wi-Fi DBX. And then you have an option to buy it as a package with another application called Metta Geek Ipa. And that would be like both programmed together would be $2,350.
Cool. And I think that leads us into the next application, which is Metta Geek Ipa. Have you used this one before, Francois?
Yeah. I like it. It basically it's just as an input, it take a packet capture, and then it presents some statistics about the Wi-Fi, the health of the Wi-Fi environment, I guess, to you. It tells you who's using the airtime.
Which is, it would be the MAC address of the client, right? That's you can see how many frames are in a pie chart. Really, is because Metta Geek Ipa is a way to visualize a packet capture and to quickly identify what could be happening on your wireless network. So you'll get a little pie graph that shows, okay, this is the BSS ID. This is how much traffic was gathered from your packet capture. It took up this percent, and then if you can drill down even further, so you can go into one BSS ID to see what clients were on that network and which ones were transferring the most frames, and so you can drill in even further into. I think you can even see what kind of frames were transferred over the most, right? So if it was management or data, or maybe there's a lot of retries happening, it tells you what percentage of the frames it captured were retry frames, and that's also very useful.
Yeah, it gives you the quick statistics about the state of the different Wi-Fi networks that you captured. They have three main pie charts. One is the airtime, so who's using the airtime basically, and how much. The second one is the number of bytes, right? So you're going to see the size of the packets, I guess. And then the third one is the number of packets, right? So you can see, how many data frames you have, how many beacon frames you have, and such, right? And so you can even for someone that's learning how Wi-Fi works, it's very good because it tells you how, first you visualize how much management traffic is generated by Wi-Fi networks, right? Mm-hmm. All the beaconing and the probe and all the management traffic, you can see it's going to take quite some airtime, and also you're going to see the number of packets.
Yeah, you can see how much overhead is on your going through Wi-Fi.
Exactly, it shows you basically the overhead of Wi-Fi, and then it also shows you the airtime utilization.
Yeah, right? That's going to be very useful for anyone trying to figure out capacity, for example. How much airtime utilization could an application be using? That's something you could try to figure out, right?
Yeah, exactly. And what I like about it is it gives you like a timeline over time, like how much airtime is used over time. Let's say you took your capture for 10 minutes. It's going to give you a timeline of 10 minutes, and it's going to tell you how much the channel was used. So if if it's fluctuating, you can try to find out who's using what. Mm-hmm. And it's also good to find out that how much your neighbors are polluting your Wi-Fi using 1 megabit as a basic rate over like a 40 megahertz wide channel on the 2.4. You're gonna see it right away. But so I like it because it's visual. That's something you can often show to your customers if you present the data in a nice way. You can get some statistics out of it. They also have like a more detailed view where you can see the packets and you can filter. Okay, I only want to see the management packets. I only want to see the probe request and so on. So you can drill down a little bit. If I want to do like a more advanced analysis, I usually go to like the Wireshark or something like that, to drill more down into the packets. But Metta Geek IPA will give you like a first sense of what's going on, and some data you can include in a report and show to your customers.
Yeah, why don't we tell everyone how you even capture packets for Metta Geek IPA? Because you can't use your I wouldn't use your built-in NIC. Most of the NICs aren't going to be able to do that for you because they're not going to capture the packets properly.
Well, what I do, I use AirTool on the Mac to do my captures, and then I save it on a SD card or on a USB stick, and then when I go back, I restart my computer with Boot Camp, and then I import the captures that I took with AirTool. I import them into IPA to view them. But I guess I'm not the regular person.
For the Windows only guys who don't have the cool MacBook
the Windows
Pros,
only guys.
You have to use an adapter, a USB adapter called AirPcap NX, and I actually have one of these as well. And this is how I capture frames for if you were to use it for Metta Geek IPA. You can launch Metta Geek IPA and with the USB adapter be able to capture frames that way. It'll do that within the application. What I also do most commonly is I'll open up Wireshark and I'll capture it that way as a PCAP file, and then import it into Metta Geek IPA to get the visualization. That's typically how I use it. So you can do the AirTool method if you've got AirTool on your Mac, and then you want to visualize the traffic, import the PCAP file into Metta Geek IPA, or just capture it straight from Wireshark.
Yeah, because when it's not as easy on Windows to capture packets as it is on the Mac OS.
Yeah, unfortunately, you're going to have to spend a little bit more of that money to get that USB adapter.
Yeah, AirPcap NX. You can buy it at the same time when you buy the application.
Yeah, just bundle that together, and you'll be good to go. And I use the AirPcap NX. It's useful. It's great, and we can probably dive into that further. How we do that with Wireshark, and as we talk more about these applications, because we'll get to Wireshark as well.
All right. So if you want more, do you want to add something on IPA, Royal?
No, I think that's it. I think we'll include some screenshots because that's how we're really going to show you what we mean by visualizing the packets with Metta Geek IPA, because it's really handy for those who don't understand the view of looking at the packets from a list view, a table view with Wireshark. Maybe they need to see, how much of if you're talking to like business people to try to get, I don't know, either funding or something from business people, you want to show that to them in graphs, right? You want to use pie graphs and say, look, this big chunk here is bad, so we need to fix it with, I don't know, X or Y. And usually that translates better for them rather than giving them a table of data and saying, look at this frame number 3 and 4, etc. That's an issue. They're not going to understand anything that way.
The bit is equal to 1. It should be 0.
That's Metta Geek IPA. So we'll have some screenshots for you at the show notes if you head over to cleartosend.net/81. All right, let's talk about the next application, Ekahau Site Survey, our favorite application, which we use to do site surveys. Your predictives, your validations. This is how we're going to create your design. So this Ekahau Site Survey has evolved over time. So this can be your site survey tool to, like I said, do your design and validation, and you can even do some troubleshooting with this. It can scan for the Wi-Fi networks in the area using your built-in NIC. And even now, if you have a Wi-Fi DBX, you can even do spectrum analysis. And this is where the spectrum analysis comes in handy, because usually, or what we've done before, is we do another walkthrough, right, and do a spectrum analysis with Channelizer. But now, if you put that into Ekahau Site Survey, you can see the spectrum, what the spectrum looked like on the floor plan, exactly where you walked at that point in time. So that, I think, is such a handy tool to have for Windows, especially. And when you're doing your design, you can put that into your report as well, or when you do your validation. And that way, all that data is collected in the first first try, right? Right, Francois? Because you don't want to have to walk multiple times to do your site survey, to do your spectrum analysis, or to even any troubleshooting that you had to do. So I would say Ekahau are my number one app that I use.
Yeah, I now call it the Swiss Army knife of Wi-Fi because you can do so much with it. The spectrum capability is nice because you can go back, kind of like the the record feature on the channelizer. You can go back, but this time on Ekahau you can go back to the map and click at the different on your path. So if you want to check a specific room, you go back to this specific room and you click on the path you've walked, and then it's going to display you the spectrum activity at this location, right?
Mm-hmm. And so it gives you all the other data too in that point, so you can see your spectrum, you can see the RSSI, all that data, all the data that it collects during that validation survey.
Yeah.
And the best thing too about Ekahau Site Survey is they update it often. So, how many times I open Ekahau and it says, "Hey, there's an update," and of course they present you the release notes and right there in front of you, so you can see what exactly was updated. They take your feedback seriously, so there's a way to reach out to them and request features. On Twitter, they use the hashtag ESS request. Have you used ESS request before, Francois?
Yeah, actually, I used it last week. I think that's, Ekahau, they understood that, most of the Wi-Fi community is sharing ideas and communicating via Twitter. Everyone is trying to share their knowledge to their blog and then discuss and debate on some Wi-Fi subject over Twitter. And the fact that Ekahau is taking advantage of this Wi-Fi community on Twitter to improve their tool, I think it's very smart from them. Mm-hmm. And the hashtag ESS request, it's a really good idea. And plus, as soon as you post a message with this hashtag, you get a response from other people in the community, but also from people from Ekahau.
Yeah,
right?
They definitely respond to those requests.
Yeah, so it feels like they're listening to us. And it feels good. And like you said, they update the tool on a regular basis just to make it better and to better fit the way we work and the way we design Wi-Fi network. So it's a very strong tool for us to help us design Wi-Fi.
Mm-hmm. And Ekahau is not the only application that you could use to do your designs or your validation surveys. There's other applications out there, but this one we put in here in this list specifically because we use it quite often, but some other applications too, if you guys are interested. There's Air Magnet, there's Tamograph, Site Survey, and there's also IBWave. I haven't had too much experience with either of those. I think I've used Air Magnet briefly, but I'll be honest, it looks like that application hasn't been updated since the 1990s, but it does have a lot of great features within Air Magnet. I just feel that the user interface itself needs to be updated. Hey everyone, let's take a break to think about Wi-Fi for a moment. It's awesome when it works, right? But when it doesn't, the problem is usually a mystery. If you're sick of simply rebooting your devices and crossing your fingers every time your Wi-Fi goes down, let the Wi-Fi experts at Metta Geek make the invisible visible. Their powerful diagnostic solutions visualize interference from external Wi-Fi and non-Wi-Fi sources and will help you configure your wireless network for maximum coverage and throughput. From a weekend enthusiast to an enterprise IT professional, Metta Geek has everything you need to make Wi-Fi awesome and keep it that way. Check out their solutions at metageek.com to take your first step towards awesome Wi-Fi, because I use Channelizer to actually visualize the spectrum whenever I'm troubleshooting an issue that seems to be coming from maybe a non-Wi-Fi source, for example. And I've also used the Insider Office as a network scanner to figure out what wireless networks are in the area, what channels they're using, and which channels I should use. And just a little tip, you could also plug in your Wi-Spy DBX and use that with Insider Office to get some Channelizer Lite, for example. You can see some spectrum analysis with Insider Office. Well, anyhow, if you guys are interested, take a look at metageek.com to see what you can do for your Wi-Fi network.
Yeah, I agree with you. It doesn't look up to date. I've used it, and it does the job, but it's not as complete as Ekahau. It hasn't been updated as much as Ekahau, so it doesn't meet some of the needs we might have today to design Wi-Fi network.
Mm-hmm.
I've used Tamograph. When I started my company, I didn't have enough money to buy Ekahau or the bigger one because it's quite expensive. It's like a professional tool. So I went with Tamograph because it was much cheaper, and I liked it. It did the work. It was, from a visual point of view, was much better than Air Magnet. And I felt like that was something I could use and show my customer and everything. So
I would say all three are professional tools. They just come in at different price points. And then there's different preferences on what do you want to use. And I feel that support goes a long way. And so Ekahau has really great support as well. So if you even submit a ticket, they will respond fairly quickly to your ticket, and they will help you out with any issues you have. I've even had issues where I had a multi-floor design, and the floor alignment points were never lining up no matter what I did. And so I uploaded my ESS file to support, and they ended up fixing it for me. Like that was pretty nice of them to do. They could have just told me how to do it, and I was just being frustrated at that point because I couldn't get it to align. But yeah, I feel that their support is very responsive. They're great guys, and if you ever meet them in person at a conference, for example, they're great people to hang out with.
Yeah, I agree. I had really, when I was using a Tamograph, I had a really good experience with the support team as well. And I use other programs from Tamograph. I think they're doing a good job at what they do as well.
And I think we're going to mention one of those near the end. The other thing I do want to mention about Ekahau is their reporting. Their reporting is very good, in my opinion. Yeah. They've got some canned reports in there that you could use, but I think where the strength is in the customized report. And I just started getting into this, and it takes a little bit of getting used to, but if you can understand how to create a customized report, you can get so much data from the application itself, and to present this data in tables, the way you want it. It's very powerful. I think their custom reporting.
It's kind of like a programming language for reporting.
Yeah, you got to get in there and use tags and whatnot. Like it frustrates me sometimes because I'll miss like the syntax. I'll get that incorrect, and it's kind of hard to find sometimes. You got to really read the error message when you get it. But once I completed a custom report, I felt pretty good about myself and wanted to get into it a little bit further. But yeah, that custom reporting is fantastic. And
they have a full documentation online you can follow.
Yeah, it's very documented, and it'll get you a long ways from using the canned reports. You'll look a lot more professional in front of your clients or in front of your whoever you're sending a report to, if you can customize report to exactly what information you need to display to them.
People won't even notice it's from the program.
Yeah, exactly.
They're going to think you wrote the full report in Word.
Yeah, and if you're doing a lot of designs, for example, for maybe in my case at the university, we have several buildings. I wanted to go to a customized report and have something standardized so we know exactly how we did each building. And there isn't kind of this question of, okay, why did we do it this way versus, the report could be different between buildings. It's going to be a consistent report throughout different designs that we do. So that's why I like the custom reporting.
And also, if you have a team of different engineers working on for the same company or for the same project, you could have like a standardized template that they all use to generate the reports. And so when you present the data, it looks consistent, and you can compare.
Yeah, exactly. It comes from the same company, no matter who's doing the the design.
All
Awesome. Cool.
right, so that's Ekahau. If you want to learn more about it, you can go on their website. They have plenty of videos. They even have a YouTube channel. They have a lot of webinars, good webinars you can learn a lot from. They always interview, really good people, Wi-Fi people. And we talked about Ekahau before on episode 69, and I think you interviewed UC on episode 9.
Yep.
That was one of your first episodes.
One of the very early ones. We actually did that interview while we were walking in Santa Clara, and we were holding beers. That was a challenging episode because I had to hold my beer and had to hold the microphone and the recording. It was fun though. UC likes to be active when he's doing interviews.
Yeah, and UC's the boss of Ekahau, for those who don't know.
He's the VP.
The VP, yeah. All right, so let's move on to the next application. It's called Metta Geek Insider Office.
Yep, and it's a play on
Insider
words
with the SSID within the name.
Yeah, this is a neat wireless network scanner from Metta Geek, and it's a way to display what channels are being used by other networks, and it's going to show you the signal strength of those networks at whatever location you're at. It's going to show you details of those networks, such as the data rates, what protocol it's using. So if it's 802.11b, data rates are enabled. You can see that. You can also see if it's a 802.11g network or maybe it's using AC. And so you can display on the graph what channel widths those Wi-Fi networks are using. So if they're using 20 megahertz or 80, you can display that quite easily. And if you're looking for a specific network, such as your own network, you can filter out the list of networks that your laptop can see and just type in your SSID there. What I think is the coolest part about Metta Geek Insider is that if you plug in your Wi-Fi DBX, you get this like channelizer light. So it will display some spectrum from the Wi-Fi DBX, and it overlays that into the graphical view of which networks are on what channels. And it's another way to get that spectrum view if you're using only Windows, but you don't maybe have the budget to do both Channelizer and Insider Office, and you need either or. This is one way to do it, especially if you need a wireless network scanner. This one is not a free piece of software, but it's available to purchase, and it's probably I consider one of the better network scanners on a Windows application, because we don't have, for example, Wi-Fi Explorer from the Mac OS versions over on the Windows side. Those haven't been ported by Adrian. So
yeah, I use Insider Office as my Wi-Fi Explorer on Windows. So,
yeah, exactly.
If I want to validate something quickly, validate that the AP is on the right channel, or see what networks are around, I use Insider Office. Just you open it and then you get the stats right away.
Yeah, and you could record what you see. So if you're doing something for a client or you need to record something to view it later, there is a recording option. You do have to start the recording, and then you could gather all the data you need to see, and then just stop the recording and save it to your desktop, for example. And I did that last week. I was at a client site, was able to, they were moving into a new office, and I wanted to see, what networks are in this area before they move in. So I didn't have much time, but I did pull up Insider Office and I started recording that session. And then I could even give them that file. If they even want to get Insider Office as well, they can open that and see, these are the neighboring networks. You can see what kind of security it's using, if it is using security, and it'll display the minimum basic rate that's enabled for that wireless network. So you can see a lot of 1 megabit per second enabled, for example, unfortunately. But yeah, that's one way to view your Wi-Fi networks around you. You can view them as the physical view, so you can see the MAC addresses and what BSSIDs are tied to what SSIDs, or you can just view it in the logical way, which is just showing the SSID names. So that's Insider Office. If anyone's interested, we'll have a link out to the show notes so you guys can check that out.
Well, we will also have a couple of screenshots.
Yeah, this type of application will need some. Actually, all of these need screenshots, so to really fully understand what we're talking about, and we'll include that into the show notes as well.
Yeah. Okay. And yeah, you can filter. You mentioned you can filter by SSID or MAC address. If let's say you're doing a scanning in downtown New York, Manhattan, and you have like hundreds of Wi-Fi networks, and you can just filter out by SSID name or MAC address or channel to just only display whatever you want to analyze.
So the next application that we're going to go into is Savius Omni Peak, and the way I would describe Omni Peak is kind of like Wireshark on steroids. Would you agree, Francois?
Yeah.
This is a powerful application. It's not a free application, but it is a very powerful application for analyzing your network. And it's not just for Wi-Fi, so you can also do things on the wired side. But it does have what I'd say like wireless modules built in, and you could capture packets directly from Omni Peak. It'll use these adapters that you could purchase from Omni Peak. They use these Netgear AC adapters. So I actually have this as well for my workplace, and I use 3 adapters to capture multiple channels. For example, you could aggregate all of those adapters and have those adapters on different channels, and it'll just capture frames in one single pane of view, for example. And you'll be able to drill down into packets. You can see the color codes by default that it has within Omni Peak, so it already does that for you. And you could change that if you feel like you want to have different colors. But what's really cool, I think, are the expert views. Now, the expert views of Savius Omni Peak, they're going to tell you what may be wrong on the wireless network. They'll also tell you who's taking up most of the airtime, for example, or who's transferring the most data over wireless. And then you could even use graphs to display that data that you've captured, so you can see the number of retries, for example. And it's also got filtering built in. So it's not quite like the filtering that you use within Wireshark. It is a different kind of syntax when you filter. But I think what's really neat is that when you filter data from your main capture, you could actually save that into a new tab and only display what you wanted filtered out. So I think that's really useful. And it displays all the wireless data that you've captured in a nice, I think it displays it nicely. I think it displays it better than Wireshark. So you can see things very easily, especially like RSSI that it captured from. It displays the MAC addresses very easily. And so if that's something that you find useful to you, especially when it comes down to trying to figure out things in a timely fashion, Omni Peak might be a great application to use, especially if you could use this on the wired side as well. Have you used Omni Peak before, Francois?
Not much. I haven't used it much. I want to, I need just more time, but yeah, I want to try to use it more. I got a trial from WLPC.
Oh yeah, for the people that went to WLPC, they did hand out a code for a trial. So if you've gone, be sure to check it out. At least use the trial to see what Omni Peak is all about, because it is a very powerful application, especially when you can aggregate adapters.
And I think it can be because I've opened it a couple of times. It can feel overwhelming at first when you open the application, but it's like you said, it's very powerful, and it can show you the right information, right there. There's this great video from WLPC 2016 from Jay Botello. He works for Savius, and he did a hands-on training for the basically the Omni Peak program. And so most of the video is a demo on how he uses the tool.
Oh, I should check that out.
Yeah, it gives you a good idea of what you can do with the tool.
Very cool. Well, that's all I have to say about Omni Peak. And I just have to say, check out the video from the BLPC. And if you have the demo, give it a shot and see what you're missing. Maybe Wireshark doesn't give you everything you need. Omni Peak might be able to do that for you. Now, Omni Peak isn't a free application and the price varies. I will say it's on the a little bit more expensive end for most people. So that's why a lot of people stick to Wireshark, because it's open source. And for me, that's where I started, is with Wireshark. So I understand it a lot more than I do with Omni Peak. But again, Omni Peak is a great way to analyze your network traffic and to be able to get that information much more quickly than you could with, for example, Wireshark, unless you really knew how Wireshark worked and how you were able to get that data out of Wireshark. So Omni Peak might be able to do that for you.
Yeah. And like you said, you have the ability to capture from multiple adapters, configured on multiple channels at a time. And so if you have a client roaming from one channel to another, you will be able to see all the different packets.
Yeah, and that's a great way to even understand how wireless works. If you have Omni Peak and you can aggregate your adapters, try that out, because you can see all the frames that happen from your client device probing for a new access point to join and then seeing those reassociations. That's how I was using Omni Peak to learn more as I was doing my CWAP, as an example.
Yeah.
Cool. Right. Why don't you lead us into the next tool? I think you know about more about this than I do.
All right. So the next one is a built-in tool on Windows. It's called NetSH. It's basically a command line that you can use from the CMD. And it gives you more, you can get some information about basically the Wi-Fi NIC from the Wi-Fi NIC or on the Wi-Fi NIC. So you can get information such as, which BSSID the NIC is currently associated to. You can scan the different Wi-Fi networks around you. It's going to show you a list of, all the networks available. You can get the association events. So like whenever you roam or whenever your NIC get disconnected, you're gonna get event from the NetSH. You can also get the level of signal strengths you have, and basically how I use the tool is to troubleshoot problems on Windows, right? Especially when you're remote. On site, someone is calling you, customers calling you, say, okay, this person is having issues on Windows on the Wi-Fi. Would you be able to see what's going on? I've used the since it's commands, people have created scripts. So I've used a Nigel Bowden script. He created a script and then he published it on GitHub. So you can just download it for free, and you send the script to the customer, and then they run it on their machine, and then it produces a text file that they send back to you, and you can analyze what happened.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, that's awesome. The tool is awesome.
I'm just trying it out now because I'm using my Windows laptop. The most useful one is that NetSH Wlan show interfaces, because a lot of times that you're trying to figure out what channel, for example, the client is on. And that command actually tells you what channel it's on and what signal strength it's using, or what signal strength it has. So that's great.
It tells you the BSSID as well, so it tells you which AP you're connected to, and it tells you the signal strength. And then if you run a loop and then you display this command every 5 seconds, every 10 seconds, you can get the same information over time, right? So I think that's what the script does. Nigel, he just runs the command every so and then he parses the output and then displays it into Excel, file. So you can open and then analyze and see, okay, at this point, at this time, the client got disconnected, and at this time it got connected. So you can, see the roaming events. Mm-hmm. You can see when they get disconnected, and you can better. I've used it successfully to assist remote clients, and a lot of people are using Windows as their daily way to connect to the Wi-Fi. Mm-hmm. So it's a very useful way to troubleshoot Wi-Fi on Windows.
Yeah, this is great. I like it. I'm gonna have to try this out more often.
Like you said, the most useful command is netsh wlan show interfaces. You also have the netsh wlan show networks. So basically, it's gonna, when you click on the little Wi-Fi icon on the bottom of your taskbar, it displays all the available Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
So that's basically what the command does. It will just show you all the different available Wi-Fi networks.
Yep.
We'll include a screenshot of that in the show notes. And then the last one that I think is useful is netsh wlan show drivers, and it shows you all the information about the drivers of the NIC.
Yeah, right? That's useful too, because there might be some issues with the drivers that are probably resolved in a newer version of it.
Yeah, and if you don't want it to be, if you want to get the information and don't want to be too disruptive for your customer, for your client, you can just send the file to them, and then they run the script, and then they send you the text file, and you get all the information you need to start troubleshooting. Right. So I think the original article was from Matt Frederick. He did a nice article explaining how NetSH can help you to troubleshoot Wi-Fi networks. And then Nigel took this article and created a script that you can just reuse. It's public on GitHub. He published it, so you can even modify it if you want to fit your needs. I've used it as is, and it was really nice. Thank you, Nigel.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
And so you can find the official documentation from Windows. You just check the show notes, and we'll have the link over there. And then it's free, right? So you don't have to install anything, I think.
No, yeah, I just ran it from command line within Windows, so you don't have to install anything on Windows 10.
Yeah. So yeah, I tried it from Windows 10 as well. So I think it's very useful to troubleshoot or get a first idea of what's going on.
Cool. What other apps should we talk about? We have some on the list that we're not going to go into too much detail, but just mention them. Obviously, Wireshark is one that's a free application that you could use to capture wireless frames if you have your Air PCAP NX USB adapter. And we actually talked about this in the previous episode, in episode 80. There's Tamograph Throughput Test, which is another free application to do throughput tests. I haven't used this one often. Have you used it before, Francois?
Yeah, I've used it. It's pretty nice to do some throughput testing. You can set up the server on Windows or Mac OS. So, whatever OS you're using, it's going to work. And then you can install the client on Windows, Mac OS, iOS, Android. So you could do a test from, all of these different devices. So if you're out in the field and the only thing you have is your iPhone and your laptop, you can just set up the laptop as a server and then connect your iPhone to the Wi-Fi and then use the client application on the iPhone and to do your throughput testing. And you can, like we said, we talked about it. I think you talked. I wasn't here, but you talked about it last week in episode 80. You can set different QoS levels. You can use TCP, UDP, both. So it's a very nice tool, and plus it displays the results in a visual manner, so you can see a graph displaying how fast
visual throughput tests, which I think is great because it's hard to analyze this data if you're just seeing the numbers in a table, right? It doesn't really provide much value. Yeah. So the visual throughput test is pretty good.
Yeah, usually what I do with iPerf, if I want to analyze the data, you have to export it and then you put it into Excel and then you create your graph from Excel, right?
Yeah. See, that's a lot of work, Francois. Some people just want to just see the graph right away.
Well, you can just use Tamograph Throughput Test. It's free.
Yeah, there you go. And another application from Tamograph. Can you talk about that one? I think you have more experience than I do.
It's called ComView for Wi-Fi. So it's kind of like a Omni Peak, but maybe a lighter version of Omni Peak. So it's a Wi-Fi network analyzer. So you would just capture Wi-Fi packets, and then it's going to display some characteristic for you.
Cool.
Yeah, and I believe you have with ComView, you have the ability to create packets as well.
Oh, okay.
So that's a little bit different, but I think you can. Only to good use, of course.
Yeah, definitely. The next tool is for the Cisco guys, and that's the Wireless Controller Config Analyzer. This one's free, and I highly suggest everyone download this if you have a Cisco network, and it'll if you upload, is it upload your configuration or does it get it straight from the controller? I can't remember. But
no, you have to export it like in a text file, and then you import it into the program, and then it scans everything for you, and it tells you. It presents some statistic in a view list.
Mm-hmm.
So it will show you your APs, which channels they're using, channel utilization, all of this stuff, your configurations, AP groups, RF profiles, network configurations, interfaces, and they also have like a best practice tab, and it's going to tell you if you meet the best practice or not.
Oh yeah, that sounds dangerous. If you look at the best practices and go, oh man.
Well, the best practice, I don't always use it because sometimes it doesn't meet it doesn't meet my need or the requirements. It's more like
don't feel that you always have to match up to the best practice, because the best practice might not be what's happening in the real world for your environment. So
exactly, yeah,
it's something that you just have to analyze.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes I've learned stuff from the best practice tab, because sometimes it's very specific, and they're going to tell you, oh, okay, the AP doesn't have any syslog server IP configured. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. Okay, now I know that by default you don't have any syslog on the AP. So okay, maybe next time I'll configure it from the controller, or so you can actually learn stuff from the best practice tab, and it's still useful.
Yeah. And then the other application, because we deal with a lot of CAD files, you might want to view the CAD file on your Windows computer, but you don't have an application to do that. You can do it within Ekahau, but maybe you don't want to load it all into Ekahau at first glance. So there's an application called Autodesk Dwg TrueView, and this will be a free way for you to look at the CAD drawing and see if making sure you've got the right one. You want to validate that it is the floor plan that was given to you, or maybe you want to just view it. And can you take notes within Autodesk TrueView?
I'm not sure how I use it. I just open the CAD file, and then I play around with the filters to see which one is is useful for me. Because sometimes they just have all the filters enabled, so it's it's overwhelming.
Get rid of some of the layers within the.
I just keep the bare minimum.
Gotcha. Yeah. Which would just you don't want to see a lot of the like notes that they put in there, just to clean it up. Yeah. So when you import it, so I don't use it that often. So you can filter those out and then export it into views, just so you can export it into Ekahau
as a PDF, or you can probably save it as another CAD file, and then if you want to use it, with Ekahau, and I'm not sure if you can save it as a PNG or JPEG. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Okay.
But
that'd be useful. I think I'll download that one for myself as well and play around with it. Then there is Cisco Spectrum Expert, which you can download from Cisco's site if you have a login. And they don't update this application anymore, I don't think, but it is a great way to tie it into Cisco Clean Air. And you can only view either the 2.4 spectrum or the 5 at any given time, but it does give you great information to analyze the spectrum. So if you have Cisco equipment and you've got Clean Air, but you don't have the budget to get some of the other applications that we've talked about for spectrum analysis, you could get Cisco Spectrum Expert and take a look at the spectrum that way. And this one is Windows only. You cannot get this in Mac. It's an exe file. Have you used Cisco Spectrum Expert before?
I'm not too sure actually. Maybe once, but I haven't in a while. If I did, I can't remember. Yeah, I used Channelizer, and I've used Air Magnet Spectrum XT as well.
Yeah, this one's a much older application, so it's out there. You can still download it, but yeah, I stick to Channelizer still. I don't really bust out Cisco Spectrum Expert that much unless for some reason, I just feel like changing. But it does split out the graphs. So you can. I'll put up a screenshot just so what people can see what the difference is between Channelizer and Cisco Spectrum Expert.
It's free, right?
As far as I know, I think it's free. I think if I just go into Cisco's website, I can download it, unless for some reason I have these rights to download it. But I think it is free. Somebody if you don't have, correct me if I'm wrong.
If you don't have the budget, you can just download it, and then if you have a cleaner AP you can use, you can have your Spectrum, solution.
Yeah, and I think that's a great way to do it. It doesn't give you the anything to view what the interferers are, but it's just a great way to see what the spectrum's like. And then the last application that I want to mention with Windows is this application called Wi-Fi Tool. And this is just a network scanner. It'll show you what wireless networks are in the area that your adapter can see. And then if you click on the network, it'll give you some graphs, some visualization into what channel you're on, what your signal strength is, how much data you've actually uploaded or downloaded over time. So currently I can see over the last 7 days of the Wi-Fi network that I connect to. And it even tells me like on which days in a bar graph of how much data I've used over the last 7 days. It gives you what protocol you're using, the IP of your local IP, what public IP that you have, the data rate, beacon interval, and the uptime. And it can tell you what kind of vendor is behind that wireless network as well. So it's a neat little Wi-Fi scanner, I think, that has ability to analyze some information. But it's one of those visual tools, so it's pretty good. And what's different about this one is it tells me over time how much data I'm using on the wireless network.
I like that. I like the overtime capability.
Yeah, and you'll be surprised how much data you use over Wi-Fi. I think just today I've done a total of 7.5 gigs, but I was downloading some training videos. So
okay.
That took up all my Wi-Fi. Yeah.
So do you have to? Do you only open the application once and then you gather data from your day, or do you have to let it run for the day?
I don't let it run for the day. I'm pretty sure it's running in the background. As a window. That's the only way I think it gathers information. It doesn't even show an icon on my system tray.
Okay.
But I'm pretty sure it runs in the background in order to collect that data.
And can you save the data and then send it to someone else?
I haven't tried. I don't use it that much. Only if if I really quickly want to check out the network. But given how many tools are available on Windows, I typically stick to one. Unless I just want to see this graphical view, but I don't see an option to export. I don't see an option to export.
I was just thinking maybe we can just install it on on a laptop that's having issues, and then gather the data at the end of the day and see what happened.
Yeah, that's one way to use it. But yeah, not. I don't think it goes that granular, and it's just interesting to see the graphs and how much Wi-Fi data is being used. But yeah, another application to look at, and I'll include a link out in the show notes. It's wifi-tool.com. And I think I saw this off a tweet somewhere, and I ended up downloading it. And I don't think it's free. Cool. I think it's a paid application, but
I checked, but it's not expensive. It's let me check. In Canadian dollars, it's $2.89. So I'm guessing it's maybe I'm guessing $1.99 in USD. Yeah. So it's not much.
Yeah. So those are the tools that we use within Windows. It's quite a lot. Again, head over to the show notes to check these out. That's cleartosend.net/81. Just want to say thank you guys for listening to this episode. This turned out to be a lot longer than I thought, but I guess because there's not as many applications on the Mac OS side, there's plenty on Windows to select from. If you guys have anything to add, maybe there's an application we missed that's worth checking out, please leave us a comment or tweet us online at ClearToSend to figure out which applications should we check out and add to this list. Again, thank you guys for listening. And if you have a chance, let us know how we're doing with this episode or with the show in general. Leave us a review on iTunes. You can get there directly if you go to cleartosend.net/iTunes to get to the page for the show. Do you want to tell everyone what you're up to this week, Francois?
I'm going to be working for a couple of my customers this week. From home mainly, so before leaving for my holiday, so it's gonna be nice. I also wanted to add that. Sorry,
your 2-week holiday.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
I'm jealous.
Well, you've been on holidays too.
That's true. I did now go to my turn.
Yeah, and also I wanted to mention that you're gonna be attending a Cisco Live. In June this year. So if you guys want to meet with Roel, if you want to share something with the community, you want to record a quick episode or something, just let him know and maybe you can arrange something and, talk to Roel about that. He's going to be bringing some stickers and some goodies. So
yeah, I got stickers. They're still wrapped brand new. So yeah, hit me up, find me, and I'll hand some over to you guys and we'll talk Wi-Fi and have fun at Cisco Live. I think it's going to be a great event.
Yeah, and in the meantime, head over to cleartosend.net. We have all the episodes from number 1 to number 81 now. So yeah, don't hesitate to go back and listen to a previous episode and share it with your colleagues. Tell us how we're doing, and we're going to have upcoming episode on iOS and Android. So. No one is left alone.
Yeah, we'll try to cover it all. Maybe, hopefully, you don't have to cover Linux. I'm not too good at that, but
we could do an episode on free radius and all the application you can use on Linux. We'll see.
That's true. Yeah, see now you're sharing ideas. I like it. Awesome. Well, you guys can find me online. I haven't been active that much on social media because I've been so busy, but if you do message me, I will respond. So I'll try to, I guess, contribute to my social media needs. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, let us know. Head over to the show notes, cleartosend.net/81, and we will see you guys on the next episode. Thank you.
See you guys.